We've got some pretty exciting news from the Las Vegas Raiders. They've just signed K'Lavon Chaisson, a former first-round pick out of LSU. Although he hasn't had a standout NFL career so far, he's got a lot of potential. At just 25 years old, he's only a year older than Tyree Wilson, and he's heading into his fifth year in the league. One thing I've learned from Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce is that he knows how to bring out the best in his players. Hopefully, Chaisson will be one of those players Pierce can work his magic on. Chaisson already has some connections with star pass rusher Maxx Crosby. They've both attended pass rushing specialist camps together. This shows that Chaisson is serious about improving and becoming a better player. While it's unclear if he'll truly develop with the Raiders, there's definitely some potential. Right now, the Raiders are in need of pass rushers. They've got two key players out with injuries, and they really need someone to step up alongside Maxx Crosby. Signing Chaisson just seems like a smart move overall. Sports insider Jordan Schultz says the Raiders are expected to sign him, but there's also talk that it might just be a workout for now. I think they'll go ahead and sign him, though. Some people are suggesting the Raiders should bring back Yannick Ngakoue, who played for the team before. But honestly, I don't think he's the best option. Sure, Chaisson hasn't exactly shined either, with only 5 sacks in his first 4 years, but there's still hope. Last season, Chaisson signed with the Panthers, played 2 preseason games, and went through their training camp, but they cut him before the season started. That doesn't sound great, but sometimes players just need the right situation to succeed. And if anyone can give Chaisson that opportunity, it's Antonio Pierce. At 25, Chaisson is still young, athletic, and could be ready for a fresh start. This might even be his last chance to prove himself, so you know he's going to give it everything he's got. Now, as for other injuries on the Raiders, Malcolm Koonce was recently hurt, and at first it looked like he tore his ACL. Thankfully, the injury isn't as bad as we thought, and he'll only be out for 3 more games. Tyree Wilson is also injured, though it's unclear if his injury is season-ending or not. He'll be out for a few weeks at least. Personally, I've been disappointed in Wilson's performance so far, even before the injury. He hasn't really made an impact, so I'm not sure how much he'll improve this season. But we'll see. In the meantime, bringing in Chaisson makes sense. He's an interesting pick, and we'll just have to wait and see how things play out for the Raiders. Let's take a look at some of K'Lavon Chaisson's game tape. Statistically, he's only got 5 sacks over 4 seasons, which isn't great. But to be fair, he's never been a full-time player. With the Jacksonville Jaguars, Josh Allen was always the main pass rusher, and they added Travon Walker a couple of years ago, so Chaisson was more of a backup. Unfortunately, things just didn't pan out for him there. One of the reasons for his lack of success might be that he hasn't really shown the consistency needed to be a top pass rusher. He's got athleticism, but he's more reliant on speed and quickness, unlike someone like Tyree Wilson, who uses power and strength. Chaisson's explosive first step is what stands out most, but he hasn't yet put it all together. Malcolm Koonce, for example, has always been athletic too, but it took him until halfway through his 3rd year to really start showing results. Chaisson is heading into his 5th year now, so he's not much further along than Wilson. Hopefully, he can still develop. Now, when it comes to his pass rushing ability, there's nothing too flashy in his tape. He does show good awareness, like in this play where the offense tries to run an end around. The player with the ball was supposed to throw it back to Joe Burrow, but Chaisson quickly reads the play and turns around to make the stop. That's a solid defensive play, resulting in a 7-yard loss. But overall, when watching his pass rush, he mainly relies on bull rushing. You can usually tell within a few plays whether a guy has the ability to be a top pass rusher, and so far, Chaisson hasn't shown much beyond his raw athletic ability. Still, the Raiders are in a tough spot with both Koonce and Tyree Wilson out, so bringing in Chaisson is worth a shot. We'll see if it ends up helping the team. Now, I want to address something else that's been trending on social media lately. People saying Maxx Crosby got shut down by Joe Walt. It's always funny when things like this go viral, because, let's be honest, not everyone understands the full picture when it comes to football. A lot of fans focus only on stats and miss the context. For example, people are saying Joe Walt went up against Crosby 11 times and shut him down on all 11 snaps. But they're not looking at the bigger picture. In that game, Justin Herbert only threw for 144 yards, his 2nd lowest total ever. Why? Because Herbert is a smart quarterback who knows how to get rid of the ball quickly when under pressure. It's not that Crosby wasn't effective, it's that Herbert didn't give him time to get to him. This happens all the time in football. Offensive line stats can look good on paper if the game plan is designed to help them out, like double teaming defensive ends. That doesn't mean the offensive line played perfectly, it just means the scheme worked to cover their weaknesses. You can look at stats on platforms like PFF, and it might make an offensive line look great. But sometimes the numbers don't tell the whole story. For example, if you have a really smart quarterback like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, they'll get the ball out so fast that even a weak offensive line will look solid because the QB isn't holding the ball long enough for defenders to get to him. That's what happened with Joe Walt going up against Maxx Crosby. People are saying Walt shut Crosby down because he didn't give up any sacks or pressures. But the truth is, Justin Herbert was getting rid of the ball much quicker than he used to. Instead of taking risks and holding onto the ball for big plays, he was checking down quickly. That's a big reason why he only had 144 passing yards, one of the lowest of his career. Honestly, the Raiders' defense dominated the Chargers for most of the game. Sure, the Chargers gained a lot of yards, but about 85% of that came from just 4 big plays. Outside of that, the Raiders held them to only about 49 yards on 19 carries, which is a great effort. The turnovers and those big runs were what kept the Chargers in the game. So while the narrative is that Joe Walt dominated Crosby, the truth is Herbert's quick decisions saved him. On top of that, Walt didn't have a flawless game. He had several losing reps in the run game that aren't getting talked about. There were probably 7 or 8 plays where his guy made the tackle or forced the running back in another direction because Walt lost his block. It's funny how people focus on the pass blocking stats but ignore the run game struggles. And honestly, it's a bit frustrating to see people taking shots at Maxx Crosby because of that one game. But I'm excited for the rematch in Week 18. I have a feeling Crosby's going to come after Joe Walt with everything he's got. There's actually a story from training camp that shows how competitive Crosby is. DJ Glaze apparently had a solid day going against Crosby in one of the sessions, and everyone was talking about how well he held his own. The very next week, Crosby completely dominated Glaze on the field and even ran over to the sideline to tell the media, "Make sure you write that down." He's not one to back down, and I'm sure he'll be fired up for that Week 18 matchup with Walt. In closing, let me know what you guys think about K'Lavon Chaisson and his potential with the Raiders. Do you think Maxx Crosby will get his revenge on Joe Walt? What about the injury situations with Kuntz and Tyree Wilson? Do you think we'll get them back this season? Drop your thoughts in the comments, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates. See you next time!